Hey, Tim.
Hey, Greg.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Awesome.
You know, we just finished up our fantasy baseball draft a week ago.
That's right. How's it looking for week one for you there, Greg?
Not so good.
Yeah.
See, I did the cardinal sin of fantasy sports, and that's load up on your favorite players from your home team. It just never works out.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough start for the old Mets there.
Just a little bit. Hey, they won a game, which is, about time. Just took them like 1 out of 6 tries.
Yeah. Yeah, the Phillies haven't exactly came, shooting out of the gate either.
Lighting the world on fire, right?
Yeah. A little bit of a rough start there, too.
Well, I think it was, I think Pittsburgh started the season 5-0 or something like that. And so you can't put too much stock into it.
Yeah.
But it's not a good feeling. Especially when you have them on your fantasy team.
Yeah. I did not load up on Phillies. I only have one.
Smart move.
And so my fantasy team is doing pretty good
Are
out
you?
of the gate here. Yeah. I think I was 9-1 as of this morning. So
you playing, my buddy?
No, not playing Steve. But I'll keep that same lineup ready for him when we match up against each other.
Yeah. So as sad, the chosen one didn't make it.
Yeah, he was pretty tough last year.
Yeah.
Although I was looking at stats from some of the different people on this, we're just in a public league, and the one guy, I think it's the guy I'm playing this week or next week rather, has like hundreds of stats over like multiple, I think like 11 seasons he's been playing.
Oh, jeez.
And he's won multiple years. I'm like, oh, okay, we got a ringer in this
Yeah,
league.
yeah. But you're kicking his butt, so
we'll see.
Love baseball.
Yeah.
What else is going on?
What else is going on? Well, with the podcast, this is kind of a big episode because we are now into season number 3.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. Made it through the sophomore slump, and we're on to our junior year here.
That's awesome. I didn't even realize that. We got our season 3 going.
That's right. Yeah, April 1st was our first episode ever, and 22, I guess. So,
yeah.
On to season 3.
We're gonna do the community mantra: 6 seasons and a movie.
There we go. We have a couple new characters we're going to be adding this year, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The annoying little kid just pops out of nowhere.
Yeah. We'll replace one of the characters with a new actor, and nobody will even acknowledge that we just did that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to introduce my replacement.
Okay.
His name is Scott. No. But shout out to Scott who joined us last episode.
That was fantastic. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
That was a lot of energy. It was good.
Yeah. And I've ordered, actually, I saw the tractor trailer is going to be delivering all the cars pretty soon. I ordered 5 of the cars from our...
just 5?
Yeah, just 5.
Okay.
But no, I think I sent it to you. I saw an Instagram reel where somebody had a tractor trailer with a Batmobile, a DeLorean.
Ghost Ecto 1, right?
Ecto 1, yeah. And somebody had some extra coin and bought all their favorite movie cars.
Could you imagine in your garage, like you have like all this money and you just get all these cool cars and, like you said, hang them from the ceiling?
Sure. Why not? I got a coffee table and a Countach. On that note, I guess maybe we could bring up our topic for this first episode of season 3.
Absolutely. I think it's the 30th, 35. How many you mentioned?
Oh, the anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah. This would be the 35th anniversary.
Right. Yeah. Damn. I'm old. The third what we're talking about is the 35th anniversary for the release of the Nintendo Game Boy.
That's right. On April 21st, 1989, in Japan, the Game Boy became a reality.
Instant success.
Yeah.
Which, according to a little bit of research I did, people thought it wasn't going to be successful because they traded portability and longer battery life for those sharper color of like all the other portable handhelds. I forget the name of them. Like the Sega had one, and so they were like, well, we don't know if this is really tiny screen, but it was fairly popular.
Yeah, very popular.
They sold 120 million Game Boys.
Pretty impressive.
That's quite a good run.
And true to what I bring to the table when it comes to this podcast, I have my original Game Boy right here, and let's just fire it up. Ah, there it is, that familiar chime. And I am playing the original game in it as well, which you might remember was Tetris the game that came with it.
There it is. Oh my gosh. The number of hours I spent playing that game was insane, dude. I don't want to brag, but I was really good.
Yeah, I think the family as a whole, I think we all spent hours just grinding away on Tetris in my family, and I think on vacation a lot too.
Yeah,
you know, they were great in the car. Aside from having music, when we had that to play while we were driving to the shore and stuff, that was awesome.
Kings, man.
Yeah,
walking around with your little case you got there.
Yeah,
got your games. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
One quick fact about Tetris, which when I was a kid, I played it a lot. Right? I would go to bed at night and I would see shapes, right? Sure. And I thought I was crazy. And then actually I was talking to my wife and she had the same thing. And I was doing some research and there actually is something called the Tetris syndrome, which psychologists discovered that the longer people play, the more they keep seeing shapes. And I was like, okay, so I'm not totally crazy. At least it's not it's a shared experience with other crazy people. So if you played it like I did and you saw those shapes when you were laying down at night, that's a real thing, Tetris syndrome.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I thought everything in the 80s was just awesome and didn't cause any sort of, issues with our mental state. But meanwhile, Tetris was brainwashing us, apparently.
It was.
That's funny. So besides Tetris, were there any other games that were like your favorites that you played?
I really, that was the first time I ever got into one of the Final Fantasy games.
Okay.
So I had like the very first, I think I remember it was like a blue color to the sticker on it. It was, and I played that, and I was like the first exposure to those kind of like Link, or what is it, Zelda type games, and I was like, oh, this is fun. I like this.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
I mean, for me, I never had a ton of games for it. I know, obviously Tetris, and then I had Super Mario Land, which was the Mario.
Oh, sure.
And then I had a soccer game, which was World Cup.
Oh, okay. Very cool. No.
And then I had F1, I think it was F1 Racer, I think it was called.
Okay.
Like that. Take a peek there.
Oh, very cool. That's I love the little plastic cases, right? I mean, they were just so nice to have. I don't know what.
And
is that Turtles?
Yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, All the Foot Clan.
I didn't have any of these, actually.
And then this was one that I played probably the most. It was Revenge of the Gator. It was a pinball game.
Ooh.
Which I got addicted to that one almost as much as Tetris. And I would just play it over and over and over and over again.
They were fun, man. They really were cool games. I wish I had kept mine. I ever tell you what I did with mine?
Yeah, I think, didn't you? Well, I'll let you tell the audience.
Yeah, so when I first got married, I moved in, and we were living in like a townhouse, and next door to us there was an older couple, and they had a kid, and nice kid, maybe a little on the awkward side, and I kind of befriended him. Like I throw a ball around with him every once in a while, and I don't know, man, I went crazy. I thought I'd be nice, and I literally gave him my Super Nintendo and all of my Game Boy and all of my games, which I know that's a really nice thing to do, but I do wish I had kept it. But I hope wherever that kid is that he enjoyed it. So
yeah, no, I mean, you paid it forward, and that kid, you might have changed his life for all we know.
Yeah, right. He's some game designer, right? He created Minecraft.
That's right. That's cool. Very cool.
But that's awesome. And the case, I had a similar type case. What's that thing? That big gray box there, or attachment kind of thingy.
Yeah, so when I was looking through, some of the sort of enhancements that they made for it over the years, I didn't get a lot of them, but I did get this. It was called the Game Light. That was an attachment. It'd take 4 additional AA's, so you'd be rocking 8 AA batteries to play this thing. But at night, when you're trying to fall asleep,
because there was no backlight.
No backlight, so this would slide over the face of it, and then you could illuminate the screen so you could play in the dark under a blanket when you're supposed to be sleeping.
Yeah. I think I had a magnifying glass, or it wasn't a magnifying glass, but like a magnifier for it, but it seemed to distort it. I didn't really like it. I just went with the little screen.
Yeah.
Now, can I turn your Game Boy on? I'm just curious, how did you do with the lines? Because that was the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, it's held up pretty well. The left side's got a little bit of it's kind of inching its way in on the left side, but overall it held up pretty well.
That is pretty good. Yeah. If everybody doesn't remember, it was this like gray screen, green
monkey mucus screen, I think we used to call it.
And then eventually over time, I guess the LCD would just start to fade and fail, and screen would slowly get smaller and smaller. But yeah, that held out pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty happy when I fired it up a bunch of years ago. And, obviously, as the kids got older, they would play with it periodically. But true to the sort of the history of the Game Boy, Nintendo has obviously released newer, cooler stuff along the way. So by the time our kids were old enough, the DS and things like that had already been released. So an old green, one-colored Game Boy
monochrome,
wasn't winning out.
Well, doing some research, I did find they released a lot of neat add-ons, which I didn't really realize. I don't know. I guess we just didn't get them or whatever. Yeah. But let me know if you heard of any of these. In 1998, they launched a Game Boy Pocket Sonar, which was a fish-finding gadget that you attach to the console to help find fish. Like, I'm not kidding. This is true. And you can find one on eBay for like $300.
Wow. Yeah, I never heard of that. I never heard of it up until you just told me now. Like, that is really
Isn't that wild?
It's kind of awesome, though. Like, that they figured out a way to make that work with this, pretty low-tech device.
Right, yeah. Did you ever connect it to play Battle Tetris with somebody else? You know how it has the cable?
Actually, there's the link in here. I've got the original link cable right there.
Nice.
Not unlike it looks a little bit like a USB, but it's slightly different. I think there's actually something called a Thunder port, I think, at one point.
Is that what that is?
But anyway, I have it, and if we get another one, get you one, we can play some Battle Tetris one day. And then I have the original headphones that I believe came with it that have like red and blue.
Oh, I don't remember having a headset. I wonder, or the earplugs. I don't remember that.
But. Or maybe it was an accessory that somebody got like for I got as like a gift or something that was Game Boy issued headphones.
Yeah. So. Or I just never used them.
But to your point, as far as some of those, accessories, I saw that there was, again, maybe 98 was the year they were really trying to, keep it relevant. But I saw they had a camera and a printer for it.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't have one. Did you know anybody? Or
I feel like someone I knew had one and was printing out these pretty low resolution images from their Game Boy. But I don't have a great memory of it, though.
Well, check out this weird fact, right? This is pretty cool. You might appreciate this. So, the Neil Young's daughter took a picture of Neil Young using her Game Boy camera and printer, and they actually used it for the cover of his album Silver and Gold.
Wow, that's pretty interesting, and now I've got to look it up to actually see what that looks like.
It looks just like you think it would. Some pixelated something or other. I was shocked. I was like, that is so wild that a Game Boy picture was used. So I thought that was pretty cool. You can get one of those. I think I looked online. Maybe I didn't find that one. Yep, see?
Yeah, that is some super low resolution quality right there. But it's pretty neat, though, that she had the idea to do it, and then he was willing to use it on an actual album. That's pretty cool.
They say it was the first ever selfie.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So, I was looking through some of the other, I guess, milestones along the way for the Game Boy. Mm-hmm. So, we mentioned that it was originally released this month, 35 years ago in Japan, but it didn't make it to the States until July that they were actually released, here in the States. That was July 31st. And it held its own for 5 years before they brought out like a new model of it. Which was the Super Game Boy that came out in 94. Okay. I didn't have a Super Game Boy. Did you have one?
No. That was probably the last one kind of thing I got. I did get the Super Nintendo, but
yeah. And I think it wasn't until the Game Boy Color, which was 4 years later in 98, that they tried to, obviously bring in some color. And then in 2001, the Game Boy Advance, that was when they tried to actually bring in like the graphics qualities of like the Super Nintendo. So I mean, that's, 2001, we're talking 12 years that it was out before they really tried to make the graphics decent. So it's pretty amazing that it did survive and become what it is.
Yeah. It was in production until 2003.
Yeah.
That's
pretty wild.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
But there were lots of different iterations of it, though. Different, like, colors and, like, I don't know, like special editions.
Oh, yeah.
And, with the Japanese and their games and stuff, they had all kinds of crazy stuff that came out, and they were really expensive. I did look up one. It's called, You ready? It's true to Japanese form. It's got the longest title ever. Vintage Game Fighter Rare Nintendo Game Boy DMG 001. $4,000.
Nice.
And it's a regular Game Boy, but it just got like color or graphics on it that make it slightly different. But gameplay, everything else is pretty much the same. And there's tons of them. Like when I was little, I was like, oh my God, the number of versions that they would come out with. And then, of course, the Pokemon games like just kept the popularity going. I never had a Pokemon game. Did you ever?
No, we never really got into the Pokemon games. It's funny. I didn't really even like know much about it. When Jack was little, he kind of got into the cards for a little while. And then fast forward to the pandemic, one of our friends, Adam, he was like, have you ever played Pokemon Go? And I was like, no, I don't have any interest in that. He's like, no, you should totally do it. And similar to him saying you should totally do D&D, of course, I was looking for anything to do during that time frame. And so I started somewhat reluctantly playing Pokemon Go, and it is now, it's like a full-on addiction. Like I still play it. I still really enjoy it. It's like one of the few games on my phone that I play pretty regularly. And I think it totally feeds into like I always wanted to be an archaeologist and like discover things. So like randomly catching a rare Pokemon, I'm like, ooh, I'm like a little kid. So I remember my nerddom just, leveled up on that one.
Came out. Yeah, I know like my kids don't really play that, but when we went to Disney World, they were playing it just because when you're waiting in line, there are Pokemon like apparently in, I don't know how it works, but in Disney World, and they were playing it just as something to do while standing in line. So.
Yeah. Well, even on our recent trip to Mexico, I caught a couple that
Did you?
I think just native to Mexico. So I was like, score. But yeah. But back to the Game Boy.
The Game Boy.
It was definitely a huge part of the, I think what kept it going through some of those years where, there were other competing things, but the Pokemon games were really strong, and they have a huge following. I mean, it's amazing how many people are into Pokemon. So.
Yeah. And I think, I didn't look these up, but our special guest, John, from our 80s music episode, he has a bunch of Nintendo games and stuff. And apparently those Pokemon games are extremely valuable.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So dig around, see if you find any.
I think this is going to sound weird, but I think we have one Pokemon. It was for one of the maybe it was a DS or one of the other variations that somehow came into our house. I don't know how. It ended up in someone's backpack or something. Yeah. But anyway, we have this one game, so I'll have to look it up and see if it's one of the ones that's worth it.
Yeah. I did find a few other fun attachments or different things. This other one, where was it? I have it down here. They even had an add-on to a Singer sewing machine.
What? You know what? As you're saying it, it totally makes sense that you'd be able to like take the patterns from that.
It's exactly what it was. It would give you the patterns to sew, which I thought was very interesting. The other one I thought was cool. It's not really an attachment, but this was for the low price of $10,000. You can buy what they call a Game Boy kiosk. I've never seen one. I'm assuming this is a total Japanese thing. It's like a stand, and you take your Game Boy and you kind of plug it in, and it has a large screen.
Huh.
So you could just like plug it in, and like everybody could watch you while you play. You're not playing on that little inch by inch screen.
I can only imagine how bad the graphics are when you blow them up from like 2 inch by 2 inch to like 20 by 20 or something.
Yeah.
That's
just $10,000.
Only 10.
Yeah.
Just add that to the tractor trailer full of cars from movies and TV.
But if you want a Game Boy, a used one, between $40 and $160 on eBay.
That's not too bad.
So that's not too bad. I might have to go dip into the used Game Boy pool.
That's funny. I think it's interesting too. Like you had mentioned some of the stuff that they did with just changing the color. Basically the same functionality, but let's give it a different color and resell. And I feel like Apple sort of used that same technology, or marketing plan a bunch of years ago, where they'd be like, the new iPhone, and it's in 8 colors. You're like, what's different about it?
Nothing. It's only $100 more.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Well, they did that back in the day when they were competing like with the old like awful color PCs when they came out with the mango fruit colored
the iMacs
cases, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Lee had a green one, and my buddy Christian had a blue one.
Okay.
Those original multicolored iMacs were pretty popular.
Yeah. One more device for Game Boy. How about this? The Game Boy Boombox Boy. And the Boombox Boy was just simply a tuner for a radio station that you could plug in and listen to the radio through your Game Boy.
I applaud the, like, let's see how random we can make these things, you know? I mean, between fishing, sewing, and just an AM FM tuner, you know? I have one other random one. There was an e-reader that just was, allowed you to enhance the games a little bit, apparently.
Oh, okay.
It was additional content for some of the content from the original Nintendo system, as well as the Game Boy Advance, that you could change the compatibility a little bit, which is kind of cool, as they tried to keep it relevant. And that was later in the 2000s. They were trying to keep the old games running on some of the newer systems, because for a while they were backwards compatible, and then at one point I think it was the Advance is when they stopped having the compatibility that you could use the old cartridges and stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then I think they also made something where you could connect it to a GameCube, and you could play the games.
Really?
You could play the original games from the Game Boy on a GameCube.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I had a GameCube.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah, I had a friend, at least one friend I know that had the GameCube, but I never had one.
Yeah.
I went Super to 64.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, the next one we got was a Wii. So we had a bunch of years there where we weren't sending any of our money to Nintendo. I did see they made one, the Game Boy Micro. That was.
Oh, well, I didn't see that one.
That was the one where they dropped the backwards compatibility because they wanted to make it super small.
Oh,
so they were trying to make it basically like the size of a regular Nintendo. Controller. It was super small, and that was the last one, like the very last one that they released.
They ever tried? Yeah.
Before the DS basically took over.
Okay.
I think I actually have a little picture here. I can show you that.
Oh wow, that is tiny.
Just a screen in the middle, and then you had your
that's it. Yeah.
Buttons and your little crosshair. So it's kind of cool.
It is.
Yeah. I'll have to see how one of those goes for on eBay. Maybe I could get one of those.
Yeah.
Actually, this was a couple of years ago that I had seen they made an iPhone case that had like a Game Boy built into the case. So you could flip your phone over and it had Game Boy games built into it, but with the same look and feel.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
That is pretty epic.
Yeah.
Nice. It was kind of funny because just a couple weeks ago, my youngest son found his DS in a closet or whatever, and he had taken pictures because it allowed you to take pictures a little better than the Neil Young cover album. But and then it was just like we were all laughing at the because as a 8-year-old the kind of pictures they're taking is the stupidest kind of things. But it was really cool to go to see that captured in a moment in time. Yeah. So if your kid has a DS, check out the photos.
Yeah, it is fun to find those little time capsules. I mean, I think we even had like little digital cameras that the kids had at certain ages where, they didn't yet have an iPhone or something.
Oh, okay.
We didn't want to give them like our whatever better quality digital camera, so they had these little cheaper ones. And then you just kind of forget about them. And there's, like you said, random photos on there that pictures of the dog, from weird angles.
It's always the pets, right?
Yeah. That's cool.
All right. Well, 35 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent a good chunk of time playing that Game Boy.
Yeah.
It was a well designed toy.
Yeah. And pretty sturdy. I mean, when you think of it, like, I know I dropped it a few times.
Absolutely. I mean, if the screen held up, it's pretty much perfect, But I heard you can get those restored. I did see that they can do that.
Oh, that's cool.
They restore the LCD screen.
Maybe it'll be time for, as the kids call it, a glow up for the Game Boy.
I'll get one, and we'll just battle some Tetris.
There we go. Nice. Sounds like a plan. Cool.
Can't get enough Latch-Key Dad content? Well, check out latchkeydads.com.
That's right, Greg. On our website, we've got a plethora of photos from each episode, as well as other interesting links to content that we talk about on the show.
Yeah, Tim, I really enjoy all the pictures that you put up there, as they really bring the episode home.
Yeah, I guess I'm not afraid to show those embarrassing photos of my childhood. So, we encourage you to check out the website, latchkeydads.com, for all that content.
Excellent. And if you have a moment, check out our shop page where we've got really cool keychains for sale. If you don't know what to get your dad for Christmas, the holidays, Father's Day, birthday, check it out. It's a cool gift. Tim, did you know that listeners should like, review, and subscribe to the Latch-Key Dads podcast?
No. But now I know.
No,
Knowing is half the battle.